I first became interested in log buildings when I was very young. There were still many such buildings around to be seen, although few of them were occupied. I would have been 11 or 12 years old when I built my first building. The first buildings I remember were hewn log buildings with dovetail corners and piece-on-piece buildings. This style would be a descendant of the Hudson's Bay Company or the Northwest Company, and the buildings that I saw would be related to those. People built log buildings in Canada because the material for log building was readily available and abundant. They were also a kind of building that could be put up more quickly than, say, a stone building. The other reason for building such a building was that the log building offered a better protection from the cold in this climate. Log buildings have changed technically since 1970. We have better tools and we have better equipment. We're also learning, as time goes on, how to use this material better for this application. When it comes to how a building was built, it really hasn't changed that much. Almost anyone can build a log building. I have examples of people from 75 years to 11 years old who have done a good job of building. Nor does gender or background have that much of an effect. The only limitation is your own will and determination. I have often been asked the question, what is the best log building? And my answer has always been the building that you build yourself. This series of video is intended to coach as many people as possible through the process of building a log house. A book can be taken to the job site and laid open at the appropriate passage. If it is well written and illustrated, it can be of great assistance. Okay. The videos in this series are not intended to replace books as a source of information, but rather to provide a different kind of instruction. Okay. A video instruction most often is not taken to the job site, but has to be remembered. It will, however, show you what your proposed undertaking will look like at every stage of the work. It will show you how you should stand when you hold a chainsaw, how you place your feet when you walk along the top of the wall, the kind of sound a sharp tool makes when it is properly used. These are some of the things that are difficult to teach with a book. I suggest that you review the entire series before starting work, because while we have made the titles as chronological as possible, some items are relevant in a number of applications, and therefore appear in several variations. You should be familiar with the full range of use before starting. When you undertake a project, you have decided in the first place that you want to build a log house. The first technical step is to start designing the house. Collect ideas, any kind of ideas, drawings, pictures, plans. Eventually, this will start to take on a pattern that will suit you. Your first step then is to come up with a concept. The second step is to find a suitable location, because the kind of building and the final design of the building is in part a function of the location. From this point on, it becomes a technical question of planning and supply. So now, before you start your practice notches, before you start your final scribe, and all the things you will have to do to build a log building, take a few minutes to look at the next section, which will show you what other builders have done in a B.L. and Mackie short course of log building instruction.
올라오면 되잖아. 무슨 수로 올라가? 서 있어요, 그러면. 사다리 쳐야 되겠네.
I want to talk a little bit about what the School of Log Building does. It has been working for the last 25 years, and we have taught people how to build log buildings. Now, log building falls into several categories: commercial buildings, buildings that are built by a commercial outfit and shipped to an individual, and buildings done totally by the owner. So we try to take all these things into consideration. The school is primarily aimed at people who want to build their own house, although we can indeed help out people who want to undertake commercial work later on. So that is the basic purpose of the school, and what it has been doing successfully for the last 25 years. Now, if you are a beginning builder, you should really take the course in log building. There are 3 good reasons for this. 1, you will save money. 2, you will save time. And 3, you will end up with a better house. Another great reason for taking a log building course is that you will learn to use the tools at the same time that you acquire them. Often, if you go out and buy a whole bunch of tools, you will find that you have got the wrong kind, and that you will have to obtain new or better ones. If, on the other hand, you acquire these tools as you are taking the course, you will not only learn which are the best to buy, but also you will learn the care and maintenance of them as you go along. What does the school do for a student of log building? The object of the school is to teach a student just how to build a log building from the bottom up. That means putting up a temporary foundation, putting in the first logs, putting the walls up, how to finish the doors and windows, how to use short logs, how to cut the notches and grooves and all the variety of notches and grooves that are used, how to put in floor joists, and especially how to put a roof system on this building. So that is the basis of the course, exactly how you would build a log building. The School of Log Building has been running off-site courses, that is, flying instructor courses, also for the 25 years of our existence. In this case, we send an instructor, or I go myself, to any place in the world to run the short course. 1 week, 2 weeks, or rarely more than 3 weeks. We get a group of people with a sponsor who is ready to put up a building. The sponsor will supply logs, basic tools, and a site. We will supply guidance in these requirements and send an instructor on the agreed date. These courses should be arranged well in advance. 6 months, 1 year ahead of time is ideal. That gives the sponsor time to get his supplies and equipment together, to find enough students who want to take the course and bring them together. This will make a good and effective group. These courses have been very successful over the years. Many people have got a good start on their log house through the course, and at the same time they have provided a service to their area, provided job training for some, and opportunity for others to go on and build their own house afterwards. In order to obtain such a course, first send the School of Log Building an invitation. We will then send you instructions and coach you in advertising and organizing your short course. After that, what you will need is logs, tools, and a place to work. In addition, we like to have a classroom available. Any kind of classroom will do, as long as it is big enough and we can hold lectures, have discussion, and show instructional video. This has been a very short description of the B. Allen Mackie School of Log Building. It has been a very satisfying experience over the years, and it is gratifying to see better and better log buildings in almost every community across the continent and, to some degree, in other parts of the world. The students also have been a good experience, and another aspect of the school may be its ability to renew one's faith in mankind. Perhaps it is the healthy association of working with a natural material in an outdoor environment that puts us in touch with our real selves. Perhaps it is the respect that we have to learn for the patient trees that teach us respect for each other. Whatever the reason, to date I have not seen an unhappy group of people working together on a log house. Nor do I expect to meet such a group. If I did, I would just go somewhere into the woods, in some remote place where land and trees can still be found, and work quietly, by myself, with perhaps a few good friends, until my belief is again in place.
Take this log and strike. I ain't not sitting here no more. My strivers ain't proud and they ain't doing what they were intended for. You better not try.
It's been said that there is no such thing as an accident, and I firmly believe that that is the case. It's only a failure to understand the results of your actions and a failure to understand the circumstance that you're involved in. However this view may be regarded in general, in the workplace or on an industrial site, it is to a large measure accurate. Accidents are caused by any number of actions. There are two main rules that can be employed to avoid most accidents. They are 1. Be constantly aware of your surroundings and what is happening around you, and 2. Never hurry or rush. Let's explain this a little. 1. Be aware of your surroundings. This means the activity that is or will be going on around you, and what will be the results of that activity in the foreseeable future. For instance, if you see someone light a cigarette while filling a chainsaw with gasoline, the possible result is fairly obvious. However, if you are walking along the side of a building, you may not be able to see what is going on above you, nor perhaps can anyone else. Therefore, if you plan to walk along the side of a building, be first aware that there is a danger from above. This all seems fairly simple, and indeed it is, but the practice of peripheral awareness is a skill and an art that is well worth the effort to acquire. To hurry means impulsive reaction, as opposed to considered action. Think before you act, and as much as possible be sure that anyone else who might be concerned is aware of your intentions. This does not imply that it is wrong to act swiftly if the occasion demands such action, but swift action must also be controlled action. The next major safety consideration is a clean work site. Maintaining an unlittered and organized area will go a long way toward having an accident-free record, and at the same time you will increase production and enjoy your work more fully. Leave a little time at the end of each day for cleanup. The principles for safety with hand tools and power tools are the same as for chainsaws. Maintain the tool in good working order, understand the use and limitations of the tool, be aware of surroundings and other workers, and don't hurry. Power tools that could be used in ordinary log building might be angle grinders, electric saws, power planers, drills, sanders, and routers. Maintain guards in place. Keep the power cord in the clear by placing it over your shoulder or having someone else attend to it. Permit the tool to come to a complete stop before setting it down, and don't set edge tools on the dirt. Retract the blade after use. Use both hands on the handholds, and be very careful if you like to wear gloves. They can catch in the blade of a saw or planer. Do not ever attempt to work on a tool or to clear jammed cutting bits without first disconnecting the power supply. You will do your best work from a secure and natural position. Such a stand is also the safest position, so a little time spent to establish a good working location will save time and avoid injury. Hand tools are of little use unless they are in top condition. A sharp axe or chisel is less likely to slip or glance than a dull one, and if you must cut yourself, a sharp tool will do less damage to tissue. An axe should be sharp, the handle should be edge-grained, and the head well fitted and secure. Even if you intend to fall your trees by hand, you should have an axe with a short handle for work on the log. Do not use the back of the axe for a sledgehammer. It will spring the eye open and loosen the handle. The danger in using a chisel is slipping. Either the work slips when you lean on the chisel, or the chisel itself may slip and be driven into a leg or some other part. The remedy is to have the work secured in place and to always be behind the tool. Your peavey should also be considered. Keep the handle protected and in good condition. If it is cracked or badly weathered, it may break when you are a long way up off the ground. Keep the point of the dog sharp and the right shape. See that the bolt and the point are secure. Watch also where you position the dog when you are rolling the log. The best place is behind a knot. It's less likely to slip and less likely to damage the material. Other hand tools, properly used and maintained, will serve you long and well. Buy the best, treat them with respect. Most of the machines that will be used around a log building site will be for lifting and placing the logs. These will most often be hydraulic or cable equipment that must, like other tools, be inspected and maintained on a regular basis. The greatest danger exists in the use of the machine and the awareness of everyone as to what exactly is supposed to happen. Often, the view of the machine operator is restricted, so it is necessary to employ specific and standard rules for the movement of materials, and these rules must be learned and understood by everyone on the site. Actual operation of the equipment should be restricted to experienced people. The most common signals are to hold, boom up, boom down, boom out, boom in, line out, line in, swing right, swing left. These signals may be used in combination, but they should be clear and visible to the machine operator. Radio communicators are also practical. Other rules include: do not stand under an elevated load or allow a load to swing over your position. Make sure the load is secure and that the tongs are below the diameter of any log. Lift only a balanced load and do not ride on the load. Positioning of trucks and cranes, the security of the footing for the outriggers and support is of the greatest importance, and do not ever lift any load without first placing all the supports. Tractors and front-end loaders are a special consideration, and indeed are the most frequent cause of injury. These machines are practical for moving materials on the site, but should not be used for building. High lifts on an uneven site with machines that are often undersized creates an unacceptable hazard, and no economic consideration can justify placing yourself in this jeopardy. If such a machine is to be used, it must be equipped with a hold down or at least a substantial operator guard. Treat a chainsaw like you would treat a loaded gun. It is better working for you than against you. This instruction is intended to help you maintain a chainsaw in good working order and to use it well and safely. Purchase a saw of a size suited to the job. For log building work, this will be a medium-sized saw, and if you are large and a strong person, you may want a slightly larger saw than the usual 70 cubic centimeter range. But even if you are a small, weak person, don't go too much smaller. A small-sized saw can be more dangerous than a medium-sized saw. The brand of saw is a matter of personal preference. The most usual brands are Husqvarna, Johnsrud, and Stihl. Other good quality machines may be suitable. Make sure that you have a chain brake installed and that it is working efficiently. Have a throttle trigger lock, and do not defeat it. Wear proper clothing and protective gear. Ensure that the saw is equipped with a low-profile bar and chain. For most work, choose an 18 or 20-inch bar with a roller nose, and while you're at it, get 2 chains and run them in together by swapping them around each day. This way you will get more wear out of both the bar and the sprockets. And by the way, turn the bar over each day also. There are 2 other purchases you should make. 1. Service and maintenance equipment for the saw, a spare starter cord and spark plug, and 2. Safety gear for yourself. A new saw should require little maintenance. Use clean and accurately mixed fuel. Keep the chain sharp and properly tensioned. And keep the saw clean. The tools you will need for this will be 2 fuel cans and a funnel, a combination chainsaw, spark plug, screwdriver tool, a filing guide, and a groove scraper. Obtain the proper size of round file for the saw teeth and a raker file for the rakers and a filing clamp. Your personal gear should consist of the proper boots, hard hat, leg protectors, eye and ear protectors. I often feel that gloves are more hazard than a protection, but they are necessary in some conditions. To install one of the chains, first soak it overnight in a shallow tray of oil so that all the joints have been lubricated. Then take the grease applicator that came with the saw, give the tip of the bar enough grease that it extrudes around the sprocket, and on some saws, give the center of the clutch shaft a small amount of grease too. This will lubricate the clutch bearing, but any excessive amount of grease will foul the clutch and have to be cleaned. The bar tip should be greased once a day, but the clutch only once each week. Turn the chain tensioning screw back, then place the bar onto the studs. The chain tensioning lug should engage the bar, and the oil slot should line up with the oil delivery hole in the saw body. Place the chain in the bar groove, over the tip of the sprocket, and into the drive sprocket. Be sure that the teeth are pointed ahead on the top of the bar. Replace the chain brake and cover assembly, then replace the stud nuts finger tight. If all the parts seem to be in place, bring the chain up to a near tight position with a screwdriver in the tensioning screw. Then, with the glove on your right hand, lift the bar and continue to tension the chain until, when lifted at the top, it just slightly deflects at the bottom. The chain will be correctly tensioned when a moderate pull will just lift the drivers clear of the groove. Continue to hold the bar up and tighten the stud nuts. A good way to install the bar and chain is to turn the saw upside down. Test the chain to see that it turns smoothly. To do this, use a stick or screwdriver behind a tooth. Next, mix the gasoline and oil. Get a 5-gallon and a 2-gallon fuel can. Use the 5-gallon can to mix and store the fuel. Fill the 2-gallon can from the 5-gallon can and carry this with the saw to the job site. The 2-gallon can may have a compartment for chain oil attached to it. These are not too good around a job site, and I would rather have a separate 1-gallon bottle of chain oil with my gasoline supply. The gasoline-powered chainsaw is a 2-stroke cycle engine, and the engine lubricating oil is mixed with the gasoline. In order to do this well, pour about 4 liters of your fuel into the 2-gallon can. Because a modern saw will use far less lubricating oil than was once the practice, you should measure the amount of oil accurately to the manufacturer's specifications. Measure the recommended quantity of oil for the 5 gallons of mix and pour this into the 4 liters of fuel in the small can. Rinse the oil container clean with a little additional gasoline and add this to the mix. Shake the 2-gallon can with the rich mixture well, then pour it back into the 5-gallon supply. Shake the supply can well before filling your 2-gallon can. Fill the fuel tank of the saw with mixed gasoline and the oil tank with chain oil. Chain oil is especially formulated to stick to the chain and bar, so don't use motor oil. Make sure that you put them into the correct tank. You are now ready to start the saw. Check that you are in the clear and that anyone in your immediate vicinity is aware of your intention to start the saw. Do not drop start a saw. I know that drop starting is considered cool and the experienced thing to do. Nevertheless, it is dangerous and unnecessary. To start the saw, turn on the ignition switch. If the saw is cold, pull the choke. If you are unsure whether it is cold or not, feel the muffler. Crank the saw by placing it on the ground, and with your foot on the hold-down pad, pull the starting cord directly back with short, sharp pulls. When the motor has fired only once, push the choke lever in. If you do not touch the throttle trigger, the throttle will be on the step and at a fast idle when the saw starts. A touch of the trigger will restore the normal idle speed. Position the saw so that the blade will not dig into the ground when the cord is pulled. The saw may also be started by placing the hand grip between your legs in a standing position. This is required when you're up on the wall. When stopping the saw, first pull the starter cord out about 100 millimeters to relieve any impact strain from the starting dogs engaging the flywheel as the saw stops. Safe use of a chainsaw is a topic that cannot receive too much emphasis. A chainsaw is a lethal weapon with the greatest hazard to the operator. Most of the hazard can be eliminated if the operator maintains good safety practice and keeps a few rules in mind. 1. Have your equipment in good operating condition. The saw is sharp, your hard hat, leg protection, ear protection, and eye protection are in top shape. 2. Be aware of all that is going on around you. 3. Do not work alone or in isolation. 4. Be aware of what causes kickback and avoid those situations. 5. Do not reach over or under the chain. The saw should always be in the firm grip of both hands and your thumb should be around the handlebar. 6. Do not become overtired or exhausted. 7. Maintain operating room. Do not crowd in on others and make sure any other operator is aware of your presence before approaching too close. Whether you have a regular handle grip or a wraparound handlebar is a matter of personal preference, but additional foam padding is really a must for anyone who operates a saw every day. When operating the saw, keep your thumb around the hand grip and avoid the usual tendency to place your thumb on the side of the grip. The most dangerous possibility with a chainsaw is considered to be kickback. The second most dangerous act is to place any part of your body in front of the handle grip. The next most common cause of injury is to work above shoulder height. Kickback is the normal reaction of the saw if the top segment of the tip encounters resistance, particularly at low speed. Modern chain design goes a long way toward modifying this problem, but it is not eliminated, and the operator must always be aware of the position of the saw blade. If the possibility of kickback exists, such as when you are doing a plunge cut, keep your thumb around the handle grip and keep your elbow locked. At the same time, maintain a high chain speed. In building a log house, your second saw priority will be to cut accurately. Modern log work is done to a high degree of precision. For your first experience then, start by just cutting a thin slice off the end of a supported log. Start the saw, approach your work from a comfortable position, stand close to the saw with your back straight. When the bar is close to the work, about 12 millimeters or ½ inch, bring the saw to a steady speed, about half throttle. Then lower it accurately and gently onto the log. If the saw is well sharpened, you will have to hold it back and guide it straight through the cut. Any tendency to rest the weight of the saw fully onto the cutting bar will twist it off balance, because of the weight of the motor is on the left side and the cut will curve to the outside. Slow down before the cut is quite finished, and be careful not to let the saw drop to the ground. When you are confident with this basic function, try walking the cut across the log. First, draw a line across the log, then steady the saw with the tip just starting to graze the cut. Cut to a depth of 12 millimeters, then, maintaining this depth, walk the blade slowly down the line until you are across. Then, complete the cut while keeping an eye on each end of the line. Practice until you are confident enough to handle the saw. Then, undertake a practice notch. After running a new chain for a short while, it may be necessary to readjust the chain tension. Do this as before and as often as needed. At the end of the day, touch up the used chain and blow out or brush the saw clean, and check the cooling slots. Remove the carburetor cover and the air cleaner and clean with air pressure if available. If air pressure is not available, the air cleaner can be washed in unmixed gasoline and brushed clean. To sharpen the chain, place the saw in a vise or filing vise. To begin with, it may be a good idea to use a filing guide, but in the long run, you should learn to file freehand. A good way to learn is to file freehand during the day for touch-ups, then check your work at the end of the day with the filing guide. The file is held at 35 degrees to the chain. You might find a slightly different angle suits your work better. And 5 degrees down. About 1/5 of the file should be above the tooth. If the file is held too low, the tooth will be undercut and the chain links may be weakened. The chain edge will be tender and the tooth will tend to ride back, especially if the chain is a little loose. This will cause wear on the back corner of the link and eventually may cause the chain to break. If the file is held too high, the tooth will slope back. This will do no harm, but the saw will cut poorly. A slight hook of about 5 degrees will make a fast, smooth cutting chain. Try to keep the teeth the same length and the same angle, particularly from one side to the other. File only on the forward stroke of the file and avoid dragging it back and forth. Keep the file stroke straight without rockering it. From time to time, it will be necessary to file the rakers. There are file guides for this also. Rakers are the small depth guides between the teeth. They should be about 40/1000 of an inch below the teeth. Too much filed off the raker and the saw will cut very roughly. Too little and it will not cut at all, or else produce very fine sawdust. If the raker tips become very shiny, look to the possible need to file the rakers. The carburetor on a chainsaw is a small and delicate component and should not be adjusted unless absolutely necessary. Minor adjustment to the carburetor may be undertaken to improve the running of the saw. The carburetor has 3 adjusting screws. One is the high-speed jet, called H, one is the low-speed or idle adjustment, called L, and the other is the throttle adjustment with a T marked on it. If the saw will run at all, turn in the throttle screw T until the saw will run without your hand on the throttle trigger. Turn in or out the low speed adjustment L very carefully until the saw runs the fastest. Back off T and readjust L until the saw idles well. Open the throttle fully with the trigger. If the saw stalls, the mixture is too lean. Open the high-speed screw 4 or 5 degrees by turning counterclockwise and try again. If the saw smokes and labors, the mixture is too rich, and the screw should be turned in 4 or 5 degrees. Continue this adjustment until the saw revs up smoothly and powerfully. Then turn open the high-speed screw just a little, so that the saw will not run lean. Be careful not to turn the adjustment screws down onto their seats. These parts are very fine and easily damaged. Remove the clutch cover and bar. Clean the grooves in the bar and the oil holes. Clean the inside of the clutch cover before turning the bar over and exchanging the chain for your second chain. Reassemble and adjust the chain. The reason for 2 chains is that the drive sprocket wears as the chain is driven, and when the chain is worn out, it will be necessary to replace both the drive sprocket and the chain. If 2 or 3 chains are used concurrently, the sprocket will accept all of them, and the sprocket will not have to be replaced as often. This has been a very short look at machine operation and tool safety. We hope it has been enough for you to be able to identify possible problem areas and eliminate them. You are the one who can make the difference. Safety and survival are up to you. It is a dangerous world and a dangerous job. Please be careful.